don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
And all the time.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. AFC North family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. Ravens, Bengals, Thursday Night Football, both teams coming off of nice victories. Ravens coming off of the shellacking of the Buffalo Bills, 47-3. Meanwhile, big win for the Cincinnati Bengals on the road versus the Indianapolis Colts, 34-23. So both teams come into this game at 1-0, looking to improve to 2-0, keep pace with the Steelers. Obviously, Steelers tied with the Cleveland Browns in Week 1, but the Steelers have been the class of this division the last 3 or 4 years. So that's the team that you've obviously got your eye on. And I said this from the jump. This is going to be the best division in football in 2018. It just is. And I look at this division. I look at the Browns, they're improved. I look at the Steelers. We know what they are. Even without Le'Veon Bell, still think they're going to be a really good football team. I told you that the two most improved teams, though, in this division are going to be the Cincinnati Bengals and the Baltimore Ravens. I told you that Week 17's Steelers-Bengals matchup will be for the division. That's how confident I am in Cincinnati being a good team. And I got Baltimore being right there. If these two teams want to trip, Baltimore's right there to steal the division from both of them. So I got all three of those teams, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh, all winning double-digit games this season. All three making it to the postseason. That's how good I think the AFC North is this season. And you saw two teams locking horns. Cincinnati jumped out to the early 21-0 lead. It got to 28-7 before the Ravens started to make a comeback. They ended up scoring 17 unanswered points to cut 16 unanswered points to cut it to a 28-23 deficit. But they would get no closer in the game after failing to convert the two-point conversion. The Cincinnati Bengals would then tack on a couple of field goals, push the lead out to 11, and win this game 34-23. The same margin, same exact score of their victory in Week 1, but it was got but in a totally different manner in Week 1 on the road versus the Indianapolis Colts. Nonetheless, huge game from AJ. It's AJ Green. Green smoke, green smoke. 3 touchdowns, all in the first half. I couldn't believe the stat that they showed. His first career game with 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. And then the one that really blew me away, his first career game with 3 touchdowns. And he did all of that damage in the first half. You would have shocked me if you would have asked me if AJ Green had at least one game in his career where he had 3 touchdown catches. I said, of course he does. He's probably got multiple games with 3 touchdown grabs. He had none going into this game. So good for AJ Green. And I've always said, you protect Andy Dalton, you give him a clean pocket. You don't get a nickname for nothing. We don't give nickname to trash guys. You can't be garbage and get a nickname. And a cool one at that, like the Red Rifle. You don't get nice nicknames if you trash. So I've always said, if you protect Andy Dalton will throw darts. And you saw that tonight. He threw some really good balls out there. And Andy Dalton, even on the move, the touchdown, the first one to AJ Green, out on the move to his right, threw it right on the money. I've always said that Andy Dalton is underrated in this league. People don't give him the credit he deserves. You would forget, 2015, man was an MVP candidate, similar to Derek Carr in 2016, until he got injured in the later stages of the season. And so with it went the hopes of the Cincinnati Bengals in that year. But had he not gotten injured, who's to say that they don't finally get over the hump, win a playoff game, and actually be a serious threat in that conference to go all the way to the Super Bowl? Remember, Denver ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. Who's to say that it wouldn't have been Cincinnati? That's revisionist history. Tonight, they were able to get it done. Andy Dalton looked good. And there's another observation that I have after watching the first 2 weeks. This offense looks extremely different with Joe Mixon in it. And you heard Troy Aikman talk about it a bunch tonight. And I was like, yeah, look, Giovanni Bernard, he's fine. You can get by with Giovanni Bernard. No, you can't. Joe Mixon brings a different element to this offense. It's just different when he's in. He falls forward. He makes guys miss. He gets extra yards after contact. It seems like Giovanni Bernard is a guy that when you hit him, generally, wherever you hit him, that's where he stops. He's a smaller guy, so I get that. But Joe Mixon, much bigger back, around 6'1", 220 pounds or so. He's physical, but yet he still has the quicks and the agility and the speed to make cuts on a dime and change a great example, that cutback run where he's running to his right, there's nothing there, runs into an offensive lineman, stops, turns, pivots, cuts it all the way back against the grain to his left, and picks up a gain of 17. That's Joe Mixon in a nutshell. Physical runner. You know, though he's one of those guys, you block it for 4, he gets you 6 or 7. You know, and that makes such a big difference. There's a huge difference between 2nd and 6 and 2nd and 3. It doesn't sound like much, but it is much. It's a big difference. And that's what you get with Joe Mixon. You block it for 2, he gets you 5. Now it's 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 8. Now you've got the decision whether you want to run or throw it. Where if it's 2nd and 8, you're gonna probably throw it on 2nd and 8. So that's what Joe Mixon brings to this offense. 21 carries, 84 yards, doesn't seem like much, but he's a difference maker in this offense. Last week, almost went for 100 yards on the Colts defense. Joe Mixon makes a huge difference. When he's in there, he is a difference maker for this offense, and he keeps them on schedule. When he was out of the lineup, the Bengals found themselves in a lot of 3rd and longs. Did you notice that? A lot of 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 10s, and they weren't converting. Conversely, in the first half, when he was in the game, they were in 3rd and manageables, and they were converting, moving the sticks, and Andy Dalton was extremely hot. Another observation, Tyler Boyd is finally taking that step that they thought that he was going to take a lot sooner when they drafted him out of Pitt. Remember, he was the man at Pitt, and he got drafted, I believe, in the 2nd round about 4 years ago, and they've been waiting on Tyler Boyd to show up as a number 2 option. He was supposed to be Marvin Jones a long time ago. He's finally looking like he's ready to assume that role. Unfortunately, I think this is a contract year for him, and he's going to ball out. Somebody's going to probably be ready to pay him some money, and we all know Cincinnati, they've got a history of allowing receivers to walk. They've been drafting receivers for years, so they probably feel comfortable enough saying, hey, if someone's going to pay you like Detroit did Marvin Jones, like Atlanta did Mohamed Sanu, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Guess who? Mohamed Sanu, then peace. Deuces. It was nice knowing you. So he may be in line for a nice payday if he keeps up what he did tonight for the remainder of the season. He looked good tonight. I thought he was really good last week as well. And so he's a guy that the light bulb is really starting to come on for. Can't say quite the same for John Ross, even though he had a nice touchdown on a fade route against Quincy Wilson last week. Still seems like a guy that's struggling with confidence. Had a drop tonight. Did have a catch late in the game. Made a guy miss, but it was still short of the sticks. Nonetheless, I'm looking for more out of John Ross. They've got to get creative with him. How about a jet sweep on the first possession of the game to get him going, to get him involved? How about a wide receiver screen on the first possession of the game? Something to get this man going so that he feels good, he's confident, and then all of a sudden he can take the top off the defense like he did in that 3rd preseason game versus Buffalo. That's what they're looking for from him, but you got to get him involved in the game, get him going, and then maybe he'll be more of an asset to you instead of a liability. Nonetheless, Cincinnati has so much talent. I've said this a million times. This isn't something new coming out of my mouth. I've said this a million times about Cincinnati. They've got an abundance of talent. They do the draft better than just about any team in the league year in, year out. So what you want about Marvin Lewis? Okay, he should have been fired 9 times over. He's like a cat. He's got 9 lives. I get it. I understand. But I'm trying to tell you that Marvin Lewis and company draft their ass off in Cincinnati every single year. And so they've got talent all over this roster. And when you look at the defense, it's never more apparent than their corners. You look at their corners, 3 first-round picks at corner. Darqueze Dennard in the slot. You got Drake Kirkpatrick on one side, and then you've got William Jackson III on the other side. 3 first-round selections at the cornerback position. You've got a second-round safety. You've got a bunch of talent up front on that defensive line. Hey, who knew? Look at the Ohio State product up there getting pressure, man. Sam Hubbard creating havoc tonight. I didn't expect that. I was expecting it to be Lawson, or I was expecting it to be Jordan, shucks. You know what I'm talking about, from K-State. I was expecting it to be one of those guys. Geno inside. It was Sam Hubbard. Who knew? So, good to see some of the young guys getting involved. And then you get the pick early on by the second-round safety out of Wake Forest. And so, Jesse Bates coming in, helping you out. Big game from a guy that got ejected last week in Sean Williams. And he had a forced fumble, the big forced fumble late to pretty much put the game on ice. Had a pick on a play where your defensive end, Carlos Dunlap, who just got some new bread, got some new money, gets to Joe Flacco as he's trying to throw the football. Ball goes straight up in the air, picked off. So a lot of good things with this Cincinnati Bengals football team. I'll be lying to you if I said I didn't see it coming, but I did. You know, I picked them to win tonight. I felt like they're the team in this division that's going to challenge the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if the Steelers aren't careful, if the Steelers are sloppy, if the Steelers are taking Le'Veon Bell for granted, this Cincinnati Bengals team could jump up and bite them and steal the division from them. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I already told you how I feel about this division. And I think Cincinnati is primed and ready to do damage if they can just stay healthy. They had a couple of injuries tonight. They lost their center, hopefully not for a long time. He seems like he's going to be fine, and being that this was a Thursday night game, he's going to have 10 days between tonight and the next game that they have, which is a good thing. He may be ready for the next game, but they need Billy Price in the middle of their defense, or excuse me, offensive line. We saw that the Ravens never got to Andy Dalton, but things got a little tougher. Things got a little tougher once Price left the football game. So hopefully he's okay. Drake Kirkpatrick left the game late. Hopefully it was just a cramp, you know. But anytime you see a guy grabbing the back of his leg, first thing that comes to your mind, hamstring. So hopefully it's not a hammy, because those are tricky. Hopefully it was just cramps. I heard it was a hot night in Cincinnati. Hopefully he just pulled a cramp and boom, he'll be back. No problems there. So big win for them here against the Ravens. I thought they could take the Ravens because they've usually played well against the Ravens. You know, last year was an anomaly. Cincinnati was not a good team last year up front along the offensive line. And Baltimore came in there, shut them out last year, embarrassed them in the first game of the season, literally ran the football down their throats in that game. I think there was a stretch there where it was like 21 straight runs or something stupid like that in that game. That's not what this Cincinnati Bengals team is about this year. And I felt like they could take it to Baltimore. I didn't think they could take it to them the way that they did early on in this game, with Andy Dalton being as sharp as he was. It's AJ Green going nuts for 3 first-half touchdowns, 2 in the first quarter, and them jumping out to the lead that they did. But I knew this game would tighten up. I didn't think the Ravens were going to lay down and allow the Bengals to just blow them out. At one point, you were looking at the scoreboard saying that these guys could get 40 tonight, and the Ravens turned the faucet off. And literally, the Bengals had to hold on for dear life. But you go to the Ravens side of things in this football game, they're still a good football team. You know, despite the sluggish start tonight, they're a good football team. And what just happened tonight was too many mistakes. And I talked about this on my podcast. When you make the amount of mistakes that the Ravens made tonight on the road, generally you're going to be sent home with a loss. You can't make the amount of mistakes they made and expect to still win. You saw it on Sunday in week 1. You saw all the mistakes the Titans made. You can't expect to win making that many mistakes on the road. You saw what happened in Seattle. You can't make those kinds of mistakes on the road and expect to win. It's just not how it goes in this league. You look at San Francisco. You can't make those types of mistakes, that many mistakes, and expect to win. Ravens with 3 turnovers tonight. Ravens with some costly penalties. None more costly probably, and you could argue that the Tavon penalty in the fourth quarter on that drive where they were looking to get the football back and potentially take the lead. That penalty for holding on a third down that gave the Cincinnati Bengals a first down and allowed them to drive the football down the field, burn off another 3-4 minutes of the clock, and tack on a field goal to push the lead out to 8. You could argue that was the biggest penalty of the game. To me, the biggest penalty of the game was the Terrell Suggs hands to the face penalty. Because if they settle for a field goal there, I think the score at the time was 7-0, and they come away with 3 there, it's 10-0, and it could have been 14, and they would have made it 17. Either way, 3 in that situation was paramount. You finally get the stop, you get off the field, you got them right where you want them. They're going to have to settle for a field goal. You get the hands to the face penalty, and a couple plays, 3 plays later, A.J. Green, another touchdown, and that just sucked the air out of the Ravens, I thought. That was a really tough penalty to stomach there. When you got the stop on third down, they've got to settle for a field goal. You end up giving a touchdown up. That hurts. That's a backbreaker. And so you didn't force any turnovers tonight. You didn't get any sacks. You had 6 of them last week. Didn't get a single sack tonight. I didn't think the run defense was that bad, but it wasn't great. And so, you put all those things together. The mistakes, the turnovers, the penalties, you not creating any turnovers. It all adds up to a loss on the road. It all adds up to you being down 21-0 after a quarter and a half of play. It all amounts to 28-7 late in the first half before you're able to get the touchdown right before the halftime break to cut the lead in half at 28-14. It puts you behind the 8 ball when you make the kind of mistakes you make early with a pick to Jesse Bates that sets up the first scoring opportunity of the game. When you make those kind of mistakes, Terrell Suggs, hands to the face on a third down when you're getting off the field and forcing a field goal. When you make those kind of mistakes, it's going to cost you. And so when you look at the Ravens, though, I look at a football team that is rejuvenated. Joe Flacco didn't have his best game tonight. Still threw for 360 yards, but he didn't have his best game tonight. Missed some throws, had some opportunities, but you still see the things that you want to see that give you hope for this team winning 11 games this year. That throw to John Ross in the end zone, come on, man. Come on, man, stop. I know you guys don't love Joe Flacco like I do, but come on, man. For every one of those boneheaded throws and those ugly picks that he throws, or a couple of ground balls he threw, one on a 4th down, one on a 3rd down, you're like, come on, Joe. You can't do that on 3rd down. You can't do that on 4th down, Joe. Willie Snead's got the man on the out. He may get the first down, he may not. But it can't be your fault, bro. You can't throw it into the ground. You can't Donovan McNabb him. Don't do that. Especially not on 4th down, bro. Don't do it. But then for every one of those, you get the John Ross throw, man, where you just go, damn, Joe. That was beautiful. Brought a tear to my eye. Joe rolling out to his right. Gotta have it. At this point, you don't want to settle for a field goal before halftime. You need it. Finds Mark Andrews for a touchdown. Beautiful, rolling out to his right. Hits him right there where he needs to hit him. Joe can do that. So, what you've seen in the first 2 weeks, if you're a Ravens fan, that has to make you encouraged for the 2018 season is that the weaponry has been upgraded and they're going to serve a purpose for you. They're going to help. I've talked to a bunch of people, and everyone's split. Oh, man, they went out and got a bunch of old receivers. Old my ass, okay? John Brown is young. Willie Snead is young. And Michael Crabtree is probably as consistent as you'll find in this league as a veteran receiver. You saw the Chiron. 3 straight years of 8 touchdowns or more. Who's doing that? There's not many receivers doing that in the league, okay? So, Krabs is a reliable target. You know what you're getting out of him. If John Brown can stay healthy, you know he can stretch the defense. Had the crazy catch over the middle of the field. Should have been picked off by Jesse Bates third. I don't know how the hell that football got in there, but it did. And then he had to grab down in the end zone with Drake Kirkpatrick just draped all over him. John Brown's going to help. You'll see what Brown can do for you. He's going to help. I love Willie Snead. Love him. I think he's a really good chain mover. And then the tight ends. You got 3 tight ends. You got so many tight ends that Max Williams looks like a fullback right now. He's more of an H-back because you've got Nick Boyle, you've got Andrews, and you've got Hurst. And I don't even think Hayden Hurst is healthy right now because I didn't see him in week 1 and I didn't see him today. Doesn't mean he didn't play. I just didn't see him. But I'm thinking I would have noticed him by now, so I'm thinking he's got to be banged up. Either way, you got so many tight ends on this roster that Williams is in the backfield blocking, getting handoffs on 3rd and 1. You're trying to find a purpose for him because he didn't work out the way that you thought he was going to work out when you drafted him in the 2nd round. So there's so many weapons now that you don't even know what to do with some of the guys you got on the roster. That's a good problem to have. And we continue to see your running back, Alex Collins, run extremely hard. Arm tackles don't bring that man down. You saw him in the flats run through a couple of Cincinnati Bengal defenders a couple of times tonight. Like, this dude runs extremely physical and hard. Love it. And then you get a little change of pace with Buck Allen. So this is a really complete Ravens offense right now. Got a lot of stuff. You're going to be just fine. The defense, the one problem, and I've said this a million times, and I'm going to continue to say this, because last week shouldn't be what you measure up your pass rush against. Because the Bills' offensive line stinks. They may have the worst offensive line in football. They stink up front, and they stink at the quarterback position. So even if the offensive line does their job, the quarterback may still hold on to the ball too long and give you a chance to get a sack. So you can't go off of what you did last week. My biggest gripe with the Ravens has been and will remain, there isn't enough pass rush on that football team. I'm still screaming, where the hell is Tim Williams? Why is he not good? Why is he not getting on the field? What the hell is going on there? There isn't enough pass rush on this team. You got enough big space-eating 5 techniques on your team. Wormley, all these guys, Zadarius Smith, all these dudes are big and they're physical. Don't nobody get to the quarterback but Terrell Suggs. He is 900 years old. You can't be relying on T-Sizzle to be the only guy to get to the quarterback. That's my biggest gripe with this team. And you saw it tonight. No pressure on Andy Dalton. And then you lose Mosley early in the game. And I don't know how much that had to do with the lack of being able to get stops early in the ball game. But obviously, he's the centerpiece of the defense. He's got the green dot on his helmet. He's calling the plays. So I'm assuming that really hurt you. But nonetheless, you're hoping he's okay. You know, obviously, like I said, he's the guy that kind of keeps everything together on that defense. And you're hoping that that's not a serious injury there. But in any event, you just dug yourself a hole tonight and you didn't play smart, fundamental football. You know, too many mistakes, too many penalties in the most inopportune times. Too many mistakes with turnovers. You're driving the football, Flacco gets hit, ball goes in the air, it's picked off. Can't happen. You know, Flacco can't throw the football early in the game right to Jesse Bates. Can't do it. I don't even know what Joe thought he was doing on that play. Like, that wasn't even a smart throw because the receiver wasn't open. And I don't know what he thought he was doing or how he was going to try to fit it in there. But there was no way that ball was going to be completed. So, those kind of mistakes get you beat. And it got you beat tonight, 34-23. So, Cincinnati moves on to 2-0 on the season. And they've got a bunch of road games coming up. But I told you I like Cincinnati and where they are right now. I think this team has a chance to really be a force in the AFC North. I really do. I really am high on both of these teams, honestly speaking, but more so Cincinnati than Baltimore. You know, because Cincinnati can get to the quarterback. If you want to know the biggest difference between the two teams, Cincinnati has more firepower on offense, and they can get to the quarterback. I think Baltimore has enough firepower for what they can do defensively that they don't have to score 34 points every week to win. You know, 23 points will be enough for them in a lot of games this season because of the way they play defense. But my thing is, if they're not stopping the run, and they didn't stop it effectively enough tonight, they're not stopping the run and forcing teams to be one-dimensional and then being able to heat them up with pressure. Because that's how they get to the quarterback. They get to quarterbacks by dialing up pressure, not by guys winning one-on-one individual matchups if their name isn't Terrell Suggs. So my thing is, if they can't get teams in 3rd and long and then be able to dial up pressure because they love their situation in the secondary, they can go man-to-man. I think Humphrey is going to be a stud. The guy is physical. You saw the tackle he made down by the goal line on Joe Mixon. Like, there aren't many corners in the league that are making that tackle. One-on-one out in space. And he makes plays on the football. I like him a lot. Should have had a pick tonight. Should have had a pick. But that was one of my gripes with him at Alabama. You know, not a lot of ball production at Alabama. Not a lot of ball production. And you saw it there. Ball hit him right in his hands. And he bobbled it. And that gave Tyler Boyd just enough to just swat it away. If he catches it cleanly the first time, that's a pick. Tyler Boyd can't do anything about it. But that's why defensive backs are defensive backs and not wide receivers. So that's the biggest difference between the two teams, though, is one can get pressure on the quarterback with just 4, the other can't consistently. So we'll see what happens, but really, really impressed with both of these teams. And like I said, I expect a lot out of the AFC North division this season. Unfortunately, when I set this stream up, I set it up for 8 o'clock. I don't know why I didn't change the time. I set it up so much earlier ago, and I didn't set the time. And when you have streams set up and a certain amount of time elapses, they don't allow you to have the chat enabled for that particular video. So no chat is enabled for this video. So I'm going to give you guys a brief second. If you want to comment, you got to use Twitter tonight. Hashtag LabRoomFam. All right? Use Twitter to hit me up if you've got a comment about tonight's game or anything in general that you want to talk about. We've got about a good 15, 20 minutes to burn. If you want to kick it, hit me up on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Use the hashtag LabRoomFam. Let's chop it up. Talk about the 34-23 victory for the Cincinnati Bengals over their divisional rivals in the Baltimore Ravens. Bengals go to 2-0 with the victory. Ravens drop to 1-1 on the season. So I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to see if I get any heat on Twitter. If I don't, we chucking up the deuce. I'm getting out of here. So we'll see what happens. I'll open up Twitter, though, in the event that you guys have something to say. But, again, felt like this was a really good showing. The only thing that I didn't like was Cincinnati took their foot off the gas pedal in the second half. And some of that credit needs to be given to the Ravens defensively for being able to get off the field. Some of that had to do with Joe Mixon's injury. I felt like if Mixon was still in the game, you saw when he was in, first down runs were getting 6, 7 yards, 5 at the least. You get Giovanni Bernard in there, and all of a sudden those runs on first down are going for 1 or 2, and now you're in 2nd and long, and then all of a sudden if that second down pass or second down run is a minimal gain or that pass is incomplete, now you're in 3rd and long, and that's what you saw a lot of in the second half. A lot of 3rd and longs that the Bengals failed to complete, and all of a sudden, they're punting the football. The Ravens are gaining a little bit of confidence, and next thing you know, they're in the ball game. So it was a tale of two halves, essentially. First half dominated by Cincinnati. The second half dominated really by the Ravens, but they didn't do enough. Too many mistakes. They didn't do enough. And you know what? I'm actually glad, because there were so many people picking Baltimore to win this game. And I got some ground to make up in the winners and losers because I didn't have a great week in week 1. I won the football pool. If I would have used the same sheet that I used for the football pool, I'd have been at the top of the class right now. But instead, I'm lagging behind. Got to stay after school for some extra credit. And got off to a nice start this week. Lost last week's Thursday night game. Won this week's Thursday night game. So I feel good about where I am right now. looking to have a strong week in week 2, man. I got work to do. So, feel like we got some comments. So let's get to them. All right. Somebody says there's chat on the video. I am not able to see the chat, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if I can pull it up on my monitor, on my other monitor. Maybe if I go down on this one, I will see it. Pause. Ah, there it is. There's the comments. I didn't have it on the one in front of me, so I got to go off the one here. Cool beans. All right. Atlas says, right, I've seen enough. Give me Lamar or even RG3. Nah, bruh. Come on now. Stop, Atlas. Stop. Vincent Cole says, the more I watch Joe Mixon, the more I think he can be special like a Le'Veon. Yeah. I told you when he came out of Oklahoma, that was the comparison. I said, he's probably the closest you're going to get to Le'Veon Bell in terms of the hesitation, the start, the stop, and then the acceleration. And he's faster than Le'Veon Bell. You know, Le'Veon's is a one-of-a-kind unique back in the sense of this guy will come to a complete stop at times with his hesitation and then go. His quickness, second to none. But in terms of 0 to 60, Mixon has him beat in that department. So Mixon has a chance to be one of those Le'Veon Bell types, for sure. Hey, Reed, everything's going well so far. The storm Florence isn't supposed to hit landfall until tomorrow, so or Friday. It's Friday now, so you're not supposed to hit landfall until today at some point. So everything's good now. It's the calm before the storm right now. So I think we're going to be fine, man. North Carolina did us a huge solid. I talked to North Carolina already. She said, hey, don't worry, we got this one. We're going to hold you down. So they're going to take the brunt of the punishment. And honestly, to anybody that lives in North Carolina, my prayers are going out to you because you're going to get hit a lot harder than we are. And so if you can get out, get out. You know, don't stay there and try to be tough. Get out of there if you need to get out of there. I think we're just going to have more of like a tropical storm effect here where we get remnants. But again, where I live, we're not built and equipped to deal with anything that most places should be able to deal with. We're not able to deal with that stuff well. We're not equipped to deal with tropical storms or Cat 1 or anything like that. You know, we're so isolated, we're so insulated, you know, that when we do get hit with something, man, we don't react well at all. We're like a boxer that has all the skill in the world but a glass chin. You do all of these things to avoid getting hit because if you get hit, you're in trouble. That's how it is where we live. So even a tropical storm can do some damage around here. But I think we'll be fine, man. But I appreciate all the well wishes, man. I really do. Sammer L says, it is simply unfair to blame Flacco this game. Threw a bad pick early, but he consistently drove the ball down the field with bad O-line. For me, the defense is to blame. No sack or turnover. Look, I'm a Flacco apologist. I admittedly am a Flacco apologist. So, you know, I'm not trying to blame this on Flacco at all. Flacco didn't have his best game, though. Let's not get that twisted. I'm going to put the blame where it belongs. He gets a share of the blame tonight. Missed some throws. On fourth down, he missed a throw. On a third down, he missed a throw. The pick early was a bad one. And, you know, those things happen, though. You know, those things happen. But bottom line is, as you mentioned, he wasn't alone in not getting this done tonight. The defense didn't step up and make any plays. Penalties in the most inopportune times for the defense. It just wasn't a great night all around for the Ravens. Reese says, I think we have a chance versus Philly at home on Sunday. Call me crazy. I thought we had a chance to beat them before our victory last Sunday. Bruh, I'm going to just tell you like this. You guys are so high off the Fitzmagic stuff. When it all comes crashing down this week, don't come crying to me. If you win, I want to hear it all. You can come back here. You can point your finger at me. You can wag it. You can talk about how you thought you had a shot to win. All of that good stuff. I'm all ears. But if this shit hits the fan, which I'm fully expecting it to, because the Saints got zero pressure on Fitzpatrick last week. Fitty was so comfortable last week. He ran it. He threw it. He did whatever the hell he wanted to do. This week, that defensive line in Philly, they're going to put pressure on his ass. And when pressure is applied to Fitty, that's when you see the real Ryan Fitzpatrick show up. So you're going to learn why his name is Fitty this week. We'll see, though. We will see. Ravens fan 25 says, I'm a Ravens fan. With your name, I didn't think you needed to tell us that, but okay. And I'm pissed. It's time to change our OC. Our offense always starts off sluggish and questionable play calling. You guys have done the song and dance with the offensive coordinators over the last 7 years. Finally, you got one for 3 years straight. Finally, Flacco has a guy that he's in tune with. You finally got some weaponry for Marty Morningwig to work with. Give the man a shot. Let's see how this thing goes. And if you don't like what's going on with the offense after week 5 or 6, okay, then maybe we can talk. But you just scored 47 points last week. Like, all of your receivers had a touchdown reception last week. What are we talking about? One game shouldn't make you feel like you need to change the OC. Like, let's see what we got going on in Baltimore first. Ravens fan says, is John Ross a bust? Looks like another version of Bashad Perriman. Were we watching the same game? I don't understand why you asked me that. You didn't see him catch a touchdown tonight? You didn't see him catch that pass over the middle of the field with 3 Cincinnati Bengal defenders around? Or 2, I should say? Like, did we not watch the same game? I'm confused. Did he not have a touchdown catch last week too? So that's 2 in 2 weeks? And he looks like, did Bashad Perriman even have 2 touchdowns in his entire career? Like, what are we talking about here, man? I'm confused. Maybe I'm being trolled or something. Marvelous Track says, does this Bengals win show Andy Dalton can be at least whoa. Chill, bruh. Andy Dalton is nobody's top 5 quarterback. Like, let's not go. See, that's the problem with fans. You're too extreme. It doesn't have to be one end of the spectrum. Like, we got one Ravens fan talking about John Ross being a bust. What? And then you got another fan of the Bengals, and you may not even be a Bengals fan, but you're just asking a question, but it's a crazy question. Because how do you skip? Can you just say, can Andy Dalton be a top half of the league, a top 10 quarterback? You go straight to top 5? What are we talking about here? Andy Dalton's a really good quarterback when he's protected. The difference in this league, though, is when you're not protected, you still got to find a way to get it done. Just because you're under a little bit of duress doesn't mean you get to throw the football all over the place and make stupid decisions and throw the football out of bounds on 4th down when you got to have it and throw picks. Got to be smart. No, he's not a top 5 quarterback. Andy Dalton, to me, is rating that 15 range, top half of the league. When he's on like he was tonight, then he's in that 10-11 range. You know, on his best day, he can slide into the top 10. Barely. But no way is Andy Dalton a top 5 quarterback in this league. What up, Reby? She said, thank you for this because I missed everything. Grinding late tonight. Just got home. Girl, it's all good. I can give you a quick synopsis if you weren't here for the whole video. Bengals jumped out to a 21-0 lead before the Ravens could even blink. The Ravens battled back, cut the lead in half by halftime, 28-14. They hung in. Big field goal by Just Incredible from 55 yards out. They gave themselves a shot, but at the end of the day, they made too many mistakes Couple of big penalties. Terrell Suggs hands to the face on the third down when the Bengals are going to have to settle for a field goal. 3 plays later, touchdown. Tavon, can't ever remember his last name, but the corner from Temple with a big, Tavon Young is his name. Big penalty on a third down late in the game when the Ravens had finally cut the lead to 5. They needed to get the football back to Flacco. Couldn't get it back to him. And then Cincinnati proceeded after the penalty in the automatic first down, proceeded to drive the football down the field, burn about a good 3-4 minutes off the clock, and in the process adding the field goal to push the lead back out to 8. Flacco got one more chance with the football down 8, but on third down, he rolls out of the pocket after being flushed by pressure, stops by the sidelines and looks to load up for a deep ball shot down the field, gets hit from behind by Sean Williams, who had a big night, interception earlier in the game, and forced the fumble that the Cincinnati Bengals recovered, turned that into a field goal, and that ended up being your final score at 34-23. Brown Shoe T2 says, Bengals do what the Bengals always do and beat the Ravens. 10-3 the last 13 games against the Ravens. It says 9-3 or 8-2. He's not sure which one it is. They said something to that effect. I think they said the last 10 games, the Ravens or the Bengals were, I think they said 9-1 in the last 10 games versus them. And the last time they lost was week 1 last year. So whatever the case may be, it's been domination for the most part. Reese says, John Harbaugh's seat could be warming up. His time in Baltimore is getting stale. He would get another coaching job in a heartbeat. He would, and if they don't win this year, if they don't make the playoffs this year, yeah, I think it's time for John to go. But I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. Aries Falcon says, beating the Ravens after what they did last week makes the Bengals a contender in the AFC. I felt like they're a contender in the AFC anyway. Like, even if they would have lost the game tonight, I would have still felt good about Cincinnati regardless. So nothing has changed. I think both of these teams are contenders in the AFC. At Randolph Carter Jr. says, William Jackson III is good because virtually you never hear his name called during a game. That's nominally good. I like this Bengals roster a lot, says Randolph Carter Jr. I agree. William Jackson III is so good. And not many people know how good this guy is. Man, is he good. A lot quicker than I thought he was going to be good in this league, too. Especially after missing his rookie season. I couldn't have anticipated him being this good this fast. Redskin Pride says, Ryan Grant would have been a waste in Baltimore with Flacco throwing into the ground. Well, he's out in Indy, and he's proven to be a solid target for Andrew Luck in Indianapolis as we speak. Brent Shaw says, what do you think about Ravens rookie linebacker Kenny Young? Kenny Young looked good tonight. Man, was he all over the field, constantly in the backfield, constantly around the football. He was a tackling machine at UCLA. Seems to be the same thing here in Baltimore. Seems to be a little bit more dynamic in Baltimore. Like, he did some good things for UCLA, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't wowed by him on tape, but I was wowed by him tonight. So sky's the limit for this guy. I really was impressed leaving this game with Kenny Young for the Ravens, their rookie linebacker out of UCLA. B3 says, I live in a 757, and we ain't built for heavy winter storms, hurricanes, earthquakes, none of that. He's 110% spot on. That's facts, big facts. We not built for none of that stuff. A torrential downpour will hell, 20 minutes of rain, heavy, consistent rain will flood downtown Norfolk. I know you guys don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, but that shouldn't flood a major area, but it'll flood a couple of major areas around here. That's how we live around here. So we ain't built for anything, any kind of natural disaster or any of that stuff. Most places aren't, but we're more so sensitive than most places. So hopefully it's not too bad. Brown Shoe T2 says, John Ross is a Bengals receiver, not a Baltimore receiver. I think you got names mixed up. Let me go back to that comment. Hold on. I think you might be right. I might have got the... Yeah, I did. He was talking about John Ross. I'm talking about John Brown. My fault, Ravens fan 25, and I was going in on you too, man. I apologize. We're going to blame it on the wine. But no, John Ross, it's too early to use the B word, man. Y'all know how I feel about that. Second-year receiver. Really didn't play last year because of the injuries. It's too early to be using the B word. Just know this. He's a guy that they have to get involved early. When you see young receivers struggle, it's because of a lack of confidence. That's why Laquan Treadwell is struggling in Minnesota right now. Lack of confidence. When you got a guy like John Ross with the kind of talent that he has, you got to get him involved early. You got to get him to rock early. You got to get him touches. You got to get him involved, make him feel like a part of the offense, get him excited, and give him an opportunity to make a play. You boost his confidence, and I'm telling you, all of a sudden, you got yourself a playmaker. So they need to get him involved early. A jet sweep. I don't really give a damn how you do it. Jet sweep, bubble screen. I don't care. Get creative. Line him up in the backfield. I saw them one play have him lined up in the backfield, and then they motioned and shifted everybody around. Line him up in the backfield. Do something creative with him. Run a route with him out of the backfield. I don't care how you get him to rock. Just get him to rock. Make him feel like a part of this offense. Buffalo pregame says, did we just see an AFC championship preview? No, I don't think so. Buffalo pregame says, with the Ravens losing, it reminds you that any given Sunday, I guess he may be talking about his Bills. We'll see. Buffalo pregame says, Ravens in last place now. Are they really? No way. They're 1-1, and the Steelers and the Browns don't have any wins. So they've got to be in second place still, right? I believe so. That's what I'm rolling with. Anyway, that's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. Bengals get the win 34-23 for the second consecutive week. Run their record to 2-0 with an impressive victory over the Baltimore Ravens tonight. They go to 1-0 in the division, so that's big as well. Meanwhile, the Ravens drop to 1-1 on the season and 0-1 in the AFC North division, which I think is going to be a very tight division. And the team that fares the best inside the division probably going to win it out of these three teams. So the Bengals getting off to a great start because the Steelers have already tied with the Browns. And if you're going to win the division, you probably need to either sweep the Browns or beat them. You need to sweep the Browns, really, if you're going to win the division. And Cincinnati does a really good job of taking care of the Battle of Ohio. So they've gotten off to a great start. They've taken care of the Ravens once. Got to go to Baltimore and see if they can't get the season sweep. But what's going to determine the division for Cincinnati most likely is their arch nemesis, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They can't beat Pittsburgh for some reason. They play well for 3 quarters and they vomit all over themselves in the 4th quarter. They can't beat Pittsburgh, and I can't explain why. But if they can find a way to just get a split with Pittsburgh this year, I think Cincinnati could actually win this division. But I got Pittsburgh winning the division still. Until somebody knocks them off, they're the team I'm rolling with. But Cincinnati, I'm telling you right now, if they stay healthy, they could be the team that comes off the pace and takes that division away from the Pittsburgh Steelers. But that's going to do it for your man Louie T tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. I'm still editing these podcasts. They'll be out at some point. I'm so behind, but they're going to get out eventually. Either way, I thank you guys for joining me tonight. And if you don't see me on Sunday, that means I've either lost power, the internet's down. It's one of those two things. Nothing bad is going to happen. Don't worry. I'll be fine. But if you don't see me, one of those two things, or my son was born. So add that third thing into the equation. Either way, unless one of those three things occurs, you're going to see this face all up in your space come Sunday as we'll break down more NFL action. But in any event, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I'll see you guys next time. Remember, we're changing the game one live feed at a time. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.